Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast, episode number 414. I'm your host, Jose. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Today's episode is a good one. A person who is the creator and co-founder and helpful mastermind behind two businesses. I would like to say thank you to Laura and her husband for sharing their story about not only AZ Bachelorette party, but Muddle fresh event planning. I am very excited to share this story with you because, like them, my wife and I work together on our passion project, something that we call this podcast, and that we are just sharing our ideas and what we're passionate about and our actual management style and how we go about certain things and how we share how our business works. So it was really cool to meet another pair that also does the exact same thing on the exact same scale, but even also just going and moving forward into the dream of working on a passion project that increases daily, monthly, yearly. So again, I hope that you guys enjoy this episode because it is something for those entrepreneurs who work with their significant other to actually utilize and share with one another. But also on top of which, if you are in the event space planning, you're also in something like that is a service-based industry, we also hope that you enjoy this episode because it does show what Arizona is trying to do from a mentality of a grassroots perspective, because they are two people who have come from this early beginnings of where Arizona has started from and how it's grown and how it's evolved, and just two people who are Arizona based that want to share their story and share their life and share their passion. So we're excited to be able to understand, witness it, capture it, and bring it to you guys, and that'll actually lead us into a little bit of the businessy side. You can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. Just like all the rest of the episodes, you will also get included links in the bio. We hope you guys will click on it, stay connected with every person who comes in through our doors so that you can highlight them on your end and also maybe be able to do a little bit of the businessy end. That's how we stay connected and network with one another. Also, if you want to send us a line, findingarizonapodcast@gmail.com. Let us know who you want in next. But on top of which, we also have social media. I hope that you guys are staying connected with us because we have some new things coming down the road. We are constantly evolving our social media, and Britt is working very hard, and I will get into a little bit of the Brit side when we get into a closer look on what's been going on behind the scenes. But until then, I hope that you guys will also share with us what kind of local events are going on. It is the summer months, so I understand that there are not too many things going on, but if you are doing something cool over the summer and want to share that, send us a line, findingarizonapodcast@gmail.com. We know, again, summer months are kind of skewed, a little far and few between, but if there is a place where people can cool off, do some shopping, do some cool events in the indoors, we want to hear from you. We want to share those. We want to highlight those so that we can all stay connected and all enjoy it with one another. Now, giving you a little bit of insight on what's been going on behind the scenes. We are working very diligently with some of our clients, and you can work with us as well. If you want to, go check out our new service arm called Found House. We are trying our best to share these stories every week, but we are also trying to work with one another on other things from people who want to share their stories from a unique perspective. So we bring that service arm so that we can utilize our skill set and be able to share those opportunities with you, the customer, the client, and all of you listening, bring you guys together. So check us out, the Found House. We hope that you will enjoy some of the individuals we work with client-wise. We want to share those content that is really cool, really fun, and want to be shared in a unique way. And that's what we're about here. And utilize us. We want to work with you. We want to share those stories. On top of which, that being said, we have a lot of cool stuff that we've been doing, and I have been doing full dad mode actually for the last couple of days straight. Brittany has been on a work trip, and unfortunately she wasn't in her controlled manner. The flight I don't even know how to put this. The flight company went on strike. She wasn't able to grab her flight, and so that meant that she had to stay a couple of days. So that's why I wasn't able to work on this, and it's not out sooner. It got delayed like everything else. Your parenting and your child comes first, and that's what I want to do with my life, is be a present father, present parent, so that he knows that everything else in this world will always be second to him, because he is someone that I am truly loving and enjoying his life and process of growing up. So I want to be there for every moment, every step of the way, and he knows that he has someone who loves him unconditionally. So I apologize from the bottom of my heart to all of those of you who expected it to be out this previous weekend. I'm very much apologetic towards that, because I know that you guys expect more of us, or expect it on a certain level, but this is something that I hope you will understand, that this parenting life is 100% my true passion from here on out, because he is someone I love unconditionally. But not to worry, we work very hard, including in the nighttime. So while I'm editing and getting everything set up and going, I hope that you guys will check us out. Hope you guys will stay connected with us. We have some other opportunities for you guys to check out through ConnectionWise. If you want to check out our newsletter, that'll give you the broad strokes. But if you want to get into a little bit more detail, we do have a blog that's available on the website. We also have on YouTube a family vlog. If you want to get a personal touch of Britt and I and our little young one, we want to share that with you as well. If you're a parent, some fun little look-see on what we do on the regular about raising him and doing things like activities, birthdays, whatever you want to do around the Arizona Valley area. We share that as well. That being said, let's jump right into it. Episode number 414 with Laura and AZ Bachelorette Party and Muddle Fresh. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye, y'all.
Score big with SeatGeek. Whether it's concerts, sports, or live events, SeatGeek has you covered. Use code FindingArizona to get a fantastic $20 discount on your SeatGeek tickets. Catch your favorite live events hassle-free with extra savings. Visit SeatGeek.com and make every experience unforgettable.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose. As always, we bring in special guests every week. Today is no different. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, because you have two businesses that we're going to be talking about today and go into it. But go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know what we're going to be chatting about.
Thank you, Jose. I am Laura Vasquez Waddell, and I'm one of the founders and CEOs of AC Bachelorette Party and Muddle Fresh Event Planning Services and Luxury Mobile Bar.
Yes. So we're going to be talking a lot about planning, event planning, a lot about what your career was before this. And we're going to be also getting into, hopefully, my fingers, because my excitement is, again, family life and business life and how you work those two together. So we're going to do a little bit of that. And so thank you again for coming in. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that I think are not too dissimilar from what you and I do as far as careers and business ethics and business in general. What we've combined together is trying to be really great cheerleaders and rooters for like different events and just bringing people together and networking in that sense. So I will ask you the question that we ask everyone at the start of our episodes is give us a little bit of your origin story and how these two businesses that are now renowned, because you guys have been voted top of Arizona, how they came into your life.
Oh my God, there's such a history there. So I'm an Arizona native, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually raised in a small town by two immigrant parents that originated here from Mexico. I was actually personally myself born in Mexico. And we moved here when I was 3 years old. So I don't honestly remember living in Mexico, but I'm a diehard Arizona fan. And
what small town?
Nogales, Arizona.
Okay.
So it's a small town.
It's really small. Yeah.
Oh yeah, very small, like super small, like same elementary friends, middle school friends, high school friends. We all graduated together.
Yeah.
So
and close to the border.
Yes, yeah. So you could go to Mexico. We would go to Mexico probably every other weekend to go eat and, just hang out with family. My parents were actually both came from very successful careers in Mexico. So when they moved here, they kind of left everything in the table and became amazing entrepreneurs, even with like their language barriers. So they both own multiple different businesses. And were able to really like show us a lot about the business without really us knowing, that they were kind of helping us out because of the language barrier.
Yeah.
When they had to like call Yelp or call, a vendor or get something like implemented in their business, we would be the ones in the phone translating like what my parent wanted, So it was kind of funny because we kind of had that seed planted in us, but subconsciously somehow I didn't pursue a career in entrepreneurship at the beginning. So I moved here to Phoenix to go to college and I just like fell in love with the city.
Got it.
And somehow I was actually in school to be a chemist.
Wow.
Yeah. And I love science. I was really good at it. But, as a broke college student, I was like, I need to get a job. And I got a job in the corporate world and I became really good at it. So before I knew it, I found myself climbing up different leadership roles in corporate leadership and credit risk and mortgage industry. And it was amazing. It was honestly an amazing experience because I really got to hone in like my leadership skills. But also I feel like the biggest part of that is I was able to learn how to like talk to people, how to manage people and how to create results with like management skills, right? And then the way that like AC Bachelorette and Muddle Fresh came to life is it was kind of really more a little bit of an accident where not an accident, but it was one of those things that, they say when you have your passion when you see something that comes up and shows up in your life throughout your whole life.
Okay.
So as a little girl, I was always like huge into design. I mean, if you saw my rooms back in the day, you'd be like, who did this? It was me with like my parents' ones, right? So it was like, there was always a different design. It was always like an element, but also my parents owned restaurants and bars and they my mom was an avid like she like designed our house. Like everything was always very much around that. Yeah. So when me and my husband both found ourselves in kind of like a little bit of a dicey situation because we both had amazing careers, then the mortgage industry hit like rock bottom, rates went up. Yeah. And then we all sudden were both unemployed with an Airbnb and in the middle of a renovation. Wow. So we were like, oh my God, we have no job. And, it was kind of like one of those like reminders of like, man, like just like this, someone can take away your livelihood and you have no control over it. So we went to a lot of networking events. And before we knew it, the creation of a luxury mobile bar came to life. Yeah. And then from that, working with so many of our clients, there were so many different needs. Like they say, to be a good business person, you need to not sell the service you have, but more sell the problem, like sell the solution to a problem they have.
Yeah, we've heard that a lot.
And like genuinely our whole business, like acumen has been from that because we saw like, look, they need rentals, they need glassware, they need design, they need all these things. And we saw so many companies do it, but not necessarily fully execute it to what we would think like, oh, we could do that, but like make it amazing. And slowly but surely, we grew our event planning company huge into multiple services. But then with that, Scottsdale is the number one and sometimes the number two place to visit for bachelorette parties. So we kept kind of getting like a little bit of a trickle of bachelorette company parties like, hey, we want to do a mixology class or a mobile bar. Do you guys do design? And, as you guys know, brand is really important and marketing to the right clients is very important. So we were like, let's create AC Bachelorette Party. Yeah. So we can keep Muddle Fresh separate to like corporate companies, businesses,
you
weddings.
built a second arm on top of what you guys have already were doing, and it just comes from, like you said, another issue or problem to solve.
Yes,
and build a business on top of that.
Oh yeah. We're like AC Bachelorette kind of definitely became a community. I mean, at this point, it's been an amazing whirlwind, to be honest, because we have two companies and in a sense offer the same thing, but different services.
Yeah, different levels.
Yes, customizable to the clients that we have.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, you brought a lot to the table, and I love it.
Very long-winded.
Because it really does show a lot of different strands that we can kind of pull at, and one being early on in the beginning and just experiencing your level of how you tied yourself into your parents' life, who were entrepreneurs from the get-go. And like you said, when they had an issue or a phone call that they needed to kind of get past that barrier, you were the translator.
That 12-year-old self.
Yeah, exactly. That meant that you were a partial owner and you were the face of their brand. And so I find that so great because the experience of solving the issues that were needed, like a phone call or having to be the face of something like that, was already instilled upon you because you had that early on from working with your parents. And I think one of the best parts about having that experience early on is the fact that you can problem solve when something like that, as simple as, let's say, having to call someone for an issue that you need to be resolved, or having to translate something into nothing, like from nothing to something, is always kind of beneficial because you worked out all the kinks. You know how to problem solve. You know how to work past certain issues. I think that's great because that says a lot about who you are deep down inside, because it's rooted in your core like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I never saw it that way.
No, it's wonderful. You had zero, because there's a lot of animosity towards that first leap. You were already way past that because you already had it in your core values of where you saw your parents do it. And so it wasn't really a factor of like, can I do this? It was more, how are we going to get the right way to do this off and running? Yeah. And so can I ask, when you guys had that problem come up, when your jobs were in jeopardy, and like, was that 2008, like the recession, or was it towards the
it was
pandemic?
In 2021.
Okay.
And there was not a pandemic. So actually during the pandemic, surprisingly enough, the mortgage industry was like, it was raining money.
Okay.
Because the rates were super low and it was amazing. But it was kind of funny because it seemed like it went really high and then it just hit rock bottom like that. And being in, both of us were in pretty high positions in the mortgage industry. So because of that, when something like that happens, usually they start cutting from the top down because, that's just kind of how it flows. Yeah. So it was really scary. Like it was very, very scary to say the least. And, surprisingly, I actually went back to the corporate world because I was like, oh my God, we started the business and then I went to work. He stayed full time doing the business. And then when I went into corporate industry again, it was like, I don't know. And I'm sure that I can speak to a lot of entrepreneurs here. The day that you earn your first dollar doing something completely separate from a 9-to-5 job or someone that's employing you, it's almost like you unlock like a new category. It's almost like, when you're like playing a video game and you like made it to like level 5.
New achievement unlocked. Yeah.
No matter if it's like $1 or $5, there's something so powerful about that kind of almost regains this like strength. And you're like, man, I can make money from anything. Yeah. You just like don't really resonate that in a weird way. I saw my parents earn their income by themselves with their business, but I personally had never done it. So when I went back to corporate world, I found myself in a whole nother position again, where they're like, we want to bring you in as a leader. You have a fresh perspective. We want you to help change things, blah, blah, blah. But with, unfortunately, many big corporate industries, they kind of just say that. And then once you're like, hey, let's change this, let's change that, this is not working, that's really not what they want to hear. They're just kind of like saying that to sell you on joining the company. Yeah. And I like quickly started saying like, I kind of don't like this. And my husband kept telling me, just quit. Like, like take the leap. How about we both quit our jobs, like, and both stay unemployed. I know if you quit, we're going to do amazing. And it was honestly really scary because I asked a lot of my friends and like family members, like, what do you think? I think I'm going to quit. And they were all kind of like, are you crazy?
Yeah, because I mean, I'll give you one thing. I agree with you. I agree with you 100% with the feeling of, we're at that point now where we're starting to make some revenue behind this passion project that we've always felt, I felt like from the very beginning, this was always going to be something of a side gig or like something that would always relatively not make me real money. And so I was like, oh, but I like, it's fine. I love doing this. I've always said that this is just something I'm truly passionate about, hearing the stories from the,
like, it's a good hobby.
Yeah, it's a good hobby or something like that. And, and then, my lovely wife who comes from that area of entrepreneurship, business ownership, and things like that, she really pushed the envelope on like, we can do this. We can make this happen where we can still have passion for this, but also make money from this passion. And that's really kind of she really encouraged me to look inside myself to like really find the value of what we do here. And so that has continued on forward with, we now do a lot of editing for others and working on podcasting for, creation and creativity so that others can feel like their story is being told the right way and being heard. Yeah. We love doing it. And it's really been a great kind of push for me to like, oh, okay, you can make money off of your passion about. Yeah.
I kind of love that you say that because like, this is the funny thing is when we started doing this, I always saw it as like, this is going to become a full-time thing. But I tend to be the planner and like, hence the name Scottsdale Party Planner. Yeah. But I tend to plan ahead and I need to have like all these things to make me feel secure. But when we went into this venture, I always saw it as like, this is going to be something bigger than ourselves, where my husband was like, this is like a side hustle. Like he saw it as a side hustle. And I was like, oh, no. But the funny thing is I was the one that went back to work. I was like, no, it's going to be a thing. But like, let me go back to work, get some money.
Isn't it so crazy? Like the yin and yang of it all? Because she's very much the businessy end. And I'm the like, I'm passionate. I'm like, I have creativity. I have ideas. I have all of these things. She's like, okay, that's wonderful. But let's make sure that we have it so that it's like,
how can we capitalize
how do we capitalize the right way? And so I love that because again, it shows the dynamic of not only your relationship and working together, but just the individuals themselves and where they're coming from of like how they do things and how they use their abilities to the right means and things like that. It's kind of crazy too. It's like, you're one way and he's another way. And so the way that the two businesses work together and mesh and do the right things that really when the clients are giving you testimonials and things like that, it's like, it's so great. It's the best. It's the best feeling in the world, right?
Yeah. It's like the most, like, I don't know, even like their reaction, even if they don't leave a testimonial, like, just seeing them walk in and be like, oh.
Yeah, just a surprise.
I'm like, I love this.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm a big like gratitude believer. So like I always start my day with gratitude. And some days, even if it's like really been a long week and we've been working really hard and it's been crazy, I just like sit back and I'm like, I am literally getting paid to set a table up. Like, this is my life.
It's like minute things where you're just like, well, I'm the same way. It's like, I can't believe someone's paying me to like fix their podcast. So the thing that like I find so interesting, like fix their audio. I'm like, this is easy to me, but to the individual, it's like,
it's
I don't,
stressful.
Stressful. I don't have the,
consuming.
It's all consuming and things like that. So again, I'm kind of curious too from this end of like the events that you put on versus the personal events. Like, how do you guys like you have a son.
Yes.
And you like, I imagine you guys have birthday parties. Like, what does that look like for you guys? Like, do you stress out personally? Or do you like, no, we got this because we have most of the things that like we can easily knock out?
Okay, so it's kind of funny because, you know, I can't even say there's a quote, but pretty much like the shoemaker's kids go on shoot or whatever it is. I'm saying it completely wrong.
No, you're fine. Because someone asked me, it's like, we were at a birthday party just for our son the other day. And like one of the parents asked me, so how's your landscape? Because that's what I do for a living is landscape design. And they're like, oh, I bet you're I'm like, no, it's very small, minimal. Like we got grass and some small trees and plants, and that's about it. I don't go crazy on it because again, when you do it so much for work, it's not.
Well, you want to take a break, right?
Yeah, you don't want to bring it home. Like,
And honestly, I feel like. So I will say that like a lot of the confidence to do this as a business came from the confidence that we built when we would put personal events together. So we would have like family Halloween parties or like Christmas parties or his Super Bowl parties. Like he has like a football fantasy thing. And like people would show up to our house and they'd be like, what the heck? Like this is crazy,
this
right?
Is intense.
Yeah. But then once you do it for a living, and then you're like, okay, when you have off days, like our son really loves to travel or do fun things. So we tend to go more on the route of like, let's go out of town and take him somewhere.
Yeah.
Or let's do something. But don't get me wrong. Like if like we have a personal event where they're like, let's do something, we definitely go all out. But you don't go as crazy as you would think you would because you do it so much all the time. So when it's like your day to celebrate, you're like, I'm going to do it really cool, but not like crazy cool.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. You tone it back just a little bit. Yeah. No.
Unless I really want to, or I'm going to like get content or like there's something that we're showcasing that we're like, okay, we really need to step it up. But like, I will say, like, if it's an important holiday, like Christmas or Thanksgiving, you would see our tablescape. You're like, okay.
Again, it's like we're probably the same way about like the way we go about certain of our own podcasts versus like helping someone else. It's like I stress out for just the individual. Like I want to do so well for the client, and I want to make, but for our own stuff, I was like, oh, that's fine. Like I get like I can forego that little thing and like really, but yeah, like I agree with you 100%. Like there's something about your own personal stuff versus doing it for a client. It's completely different mind checks, things like that. So this is kind of leads into more of like your guys is again, the family dynamic and just how you guys go about the two different businesses too, as like, what are some things that you guys like to keep in each other's wheelhouse of like, do you do certain things and he does certain things, or do you guys like to work together a lot more, like setting up and stuff like that?
I mean, honestly, I feel like it's funny, but we actually used to work together, even though we work for different like mortgage companies. We would be like in the same like office. And he would do his thing, I do my thing. So we work really well together. Yeah. But obviously when like you create businesses together, you do have to find your lanes. Okay. So you have to understand what's your strength and weaknesses and then kind of like shadow off of that. Otherwise you're going to clash, which we've definitely had that before. We're like, stay in your lane, I would honestly say that we are a really good combination when it comes to like finding our roles. Like I am very business oriented. So I'm very good at finding all the technologies, the networking and all the connections and like really just like running the business as a whole. But then when it comes to the creativity, that's also like, I do a lot of the design, but he's like literally like the master behind like all our luxury bars, like our recipes. He's also very good at kind of keeping things in line to make sure we're profitable. Because I can be like, oh yeah, let's get this and that.
That makes sense.
Where he's kind of like, well, how much is this? How much are we going to charge for this? So he has a little bit better boundaries when it comes to pricing and all that stuff out. And then also, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, it's funny because sometimes we'll like reach out to different Bachelorette companies and they're like, oh yeah, we have this and that, but like, it's just a pain to carry it. He's definitely the muscle. Like when it comes to like our event rentals, our trailer, like loading, carrying, like those are a lot of labor intensive things that people don't realize that goes into event spaces. And I feel like one of the secret weapons that Muddle Fresh and AC Bachelor Party has is that we own a majority of our services. So like the glassware, the tables, the chairs, like the catering, all that is heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And we're able to do it because he can definitely carry all that stuff. But then we also have created an amazing team.
Yeah.
That's the other part of it is that, you know, when we did first start out, we thought like me and him can do it. And you start realizing there's no way that you and one other person can do it. You have to get help and you have to get good people to trust so that you're able to do multiple events in one day. So that's something that we definitely transition into where it's crazy to think about that. But just, you know, 2 years ago, we would only do one event, you know, per day, where now we could do 4 or 5 in one day.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. That's really great.
Yeah.
So that makes me ask this question where it's like you're asking now you have a team. I'm kind of curious what your parents would think right now, where you guys stand right now. Like, what was the conversation, like when you guys first started this business to your own parents who know what it takes and the stress and behind it and everything like that? What was the conversation then versus what are they saying to you now, like seeing where you guys are at?
It's kind of like a really like amazing question, and no one's asked us before, because I feel like my dad, I feel like a lot of my business I learned from my dad very early on. He like literally, I would sit in the car with him and he would give me like speeches like for hours about like good business is this, you need to do that, you need like all this stuff. And I was a little girl like, okay, like I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, you're silly. You're silly.
I'm like, but you know, now as an adult, I'm like, it's so funny how much of it really did in like, you know, I took all of it in my life, but even in the corporate world, a lot of like his business management and leadership, he was definitely a leader. But ironically enough, the brains behind the business was always my mom, in the sense because she was just really smart and she was a lot more like stern and more like, this is what we're going to do. She had a lot more set boundaries. So it's kind of a nice thing. So when my parents found out that we were going to have that we had this business, my dad was like, marketing. That was his number one thing. He was like, make sure you do all the marketing. Marketing is really important. Hence, I'm here.
Yes.
He was just like, you know, you need to try all avenues to make sure that people know who you are and what you can offer. And it was kind of funny because in some sense, I was like, you know, like now I know so much. And then my mom, she's like so sweet. She's like, well, it's so good. She's like, I'm so proud of you. And I'm so proud that you're able to help so much. Because a lot of the times, like we've had situations where like one or two of my siblings have like been laid off or something. And it's like we were their employer for like a period of time. And it's kind of like weird, but also ironically enough, very fulfilling to know that now you're the person that gets to in some way help provide some sort of income through your business that you created. So she's always very grateful for that. But she does always tell me, and I feel like she's been telling me this since I was really young, even when I was in the corporate world, because I do tend to have a really bad habit of overworking. So I work really hard and I don't know when to stop or sometimes when to take breaks or like gauge it. So she does always have that like mom reaction. And she's like, well, just take care of yourself, rest, don't work too hard. And I'm like, okay.
You work too much.
Yes,
I love that. That's what reminds me of my grandmother, who's similar to where she really is kind of the concerned parent. And really, there's a lot of like that dynamic of like, you kind of fall back into the parental mode once that starts to come around and things like that. So I have had that conversation with my own parents too, where they've kind of like drawn concern of like, you work a lot. And I'm like, well, it's not easy. It's, you know.
I kind of have to.
Yeah, I kind of have to. And it's refreshing though, because I feel now too, when I see my son and how much he just is growing, and I'm like, okay, I'm working a lot, but it means something to me when he wants to play, or if he's like really, you know, asking. Yeah. He's starting to communicate a lot more where he's like, Dad, let's do this. And let's do it. Yeah. It's the best feeling. So I really do draw a boundary where it's like certain times of the day where I'm with him, or if it's just like the weekend when this one thing comes up, like, he does swim class, so I'd like to take him to swim class and things like that. So it's like,
those days.
I draw a line where it's like, when I'm with him 100%, and I'm trying to work around when he's like napping or sleeping and things like that. That's when I do a lot of the heavy lifting on that part.
That's important.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
I'm not always great at that, but I try really hard.
So that was going to be my next question. I mean, with your family and your partner being a part of your, you know, what you do, what are the types of things that you guys, you know, draw boundaries on? And like, what are some of the things that, you know, work cannot stand between us and what we're trying to do here?
I feel like it's kind of like a really amazing thing to work with your spouse, even though, like, you know, a marriage itself is a lot of work and you get a lot of curves thrown at you. So it's already hard enough, but then running two businesses, you're just like throwing spitfires at it. But I feel like in a sense, it's also kind of like a bulletproof kind of concept, because when you are in business with your partner, they have your best interest in mind. Yeah. So there will be days that I'm having a weak moment and I'm like, I don't know, does this look good? Or I'm like overthinking something. He's like, no, it looks great. And he's very like supportive and he has a really good eye for it. Or if he's having a meltdown, I'm like, you need to get it together. We're going to be fine. Yeah. But then also when it comes to family, I feel like when we have each other, it's kind of like we need to make room and we need to make space to take Liam out for this. Yeah. So we set like traditions where we'll have movie nights or he's awesome. Yeah. And I feel like we get very intentional about making sure we have time for our son because sometimes we are both gone at an event. Yeah. Or if it's like an event that he's like, look, what do you want the design to look like? And I can go set it up for you so you can stay here so that you and Liam can have time.
That helpful part of having someone who cares enough.
Yeah. Where if you have like a normal business partner, not that that's a bad thing, but they don't see it in the same way because they don't have the same...
Well, their priority is towards their own family and then the business as well. But it's like, they're not going to go out of their way really to try and make your life lighter so that you can, you know, go ahead and focus on that family aspect part, which, you know, that's like you said, the beneficial part of working with your spouse and having these businesses together. But yeah, I mean, that's really great for me to understand that part of it, because again, I love when you guys meaning the business entrepreneur types, when they share a little bit of that aspect of it, because it helps me, the person like really trying to work my own business, but B, I think it really shows the dynamic as a business person who is either a client who's going to want to work with you or someone who's just listening. It's just like they draw themselves closer to you because they like get it. We're like, oh yeah, that's really great that you're here talking about the ups and downs. I feel like I want to work with you a little bit more because you were able to be so honest and outright about what you've been struggling with or what you go through on a routine basis. So thank you for sharing that. So what I like to do is pivot towards goals and like future stuff is just really kind of one of those big things. Is it's fun for me because I like to say we do have listeners who love to help people who come on our show.
Yeah.
And so it really does mean a lot to me when they can hear from you, the owner, of like, what are some things that you're trying to achieve? Maybe not, right now, right away in the next couple of months, but maybe throughout the year.
I have like a Santa Claus list. Like,
here's
like,
my list of achievements. Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm kidding. I would say with Muddle Fresh, we are very intentional about like a lot of the services. Everything's very customizable. And one of them with the luxury bar part of it, which is very different from a lot of mobile bars, is that we kind of took the long route. So when we create a luxury mobile bar experience, it's literally an experience. And we don't like to use pre-made mixers. So let's say someone's like, I want to have a margarita. We actually freshly hand squeeze all your lemon, your lime juice, your orange, grapefruit juice. And we have our own line of simple syrups. So
cool.
They're like an organic simple syrup that we've created. And it's like lavender infused, like rosemary infused, mint, basil.
Does that come from him? Like,
yes.
I'm like, nice.
So I feel like it's funny because sometimes we'll do like a corporate event and we literally transform a whole mansion for them. And then we're like, leave us a review. And then they're like, great cocktails.
We're looking for a little bit more details, guys.
And it's like, while it's kind of like, sometimes it pains me because I'm like, oh, like, what about all this stuff? They're like, oh my God, look beautiful, like, blah, blah, blah.
But the joy that they get.
Joy was the cocktails. And, and it is, it's funny because I tell people this all the time. People spend about 15-20% of their time eating. They spend 95% of their time going back and forth to the bar.
Yeah.
So we've absolutely dominated the bar part of it. And what I've understood is that there's not a lot of really good quality organic simple syrups, which is like literally a 95% of your cocktails. So it would be very, like, I feel like we sell them on the farmer's market and stuff like that. It would be amazing to create a line of simple syrups to be sold at AJ's or Sprouts.
Yeah.
Like places where maybe a lot of people are very intentional about what, they eat, but then also want to have a really good quality cocktail.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. And then eventually branch out.
Yeah.
I would say the second really huge goal for Muddle Fresh is it is a national traveling company, but it would be amazing to be global where like if we have a client that owns a business here and we did an amazing grand opening for them, now they find themselves engaged and they're going to get married in Italy, having someone that they trust and that did a great job. And like just having us go overseas to help plan it out, we can totally execute. We've also been to Italy, so
nice. That's where that came from.
Yeah, we're really good at we're actually really good avid travelers, and we're really good at finding our way and resourcing. So that would be amazing to take it globally. And then with AC Bachelorette Party, it's been insane. Like AC Bachelorette Party just barely turned a year old, and we were already awarded the Best Party Planning Company by Quality Business for 2024. Then we launched our website, and shortly after we launched our website, we have about 24 different vendors in line wanting to showcase their service on our website so that people coming to Scottsdale can just click book now or know where to go when they come here.
Yep.
So I feel like because we've done such an amazing job with AC Bachelorette, I feel like it would be amazing to expand it to like Nashville, which is like the number one or the number two sometimes of bachelorette parties. We own Nash Bash. It's just that we haven't fully developed the website for Nashville because, when we do something, we like to do it right.
Yeah.
And if you grow too fast, you can definitely shoot yourself in the foot. And we don't want to do that. So it's just trying to find out who are the right contacts that can partner up with us to help run Nashville when we're here.
Yeah, it sounds like a couple of things. It sounds like you need one, a person to really good at websites first off, and like that can help you develop that and slowly help you launch certain arms. Because I think, like you said, the bottling of the simple syrup would be an attachment to what you guys already do on that scale, and really help you guys develop and branch out into a global company on multiple ends. And I think like you said, it's like having the right partners and having the right kind of helping hands to join your team so that you can feel comfortable about leaving Nashville to that person who's like a good contact, good partner, and, you know, feeling more secure about being here too, but also kind of global hopping to the next kind of events that are going to be more international based and things like that. I mean, you've got a lot on your plate, and I have high hopes for you. I'm wishing you guys all the luck.
We need all the vibes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, but like you said, you and I have this kind of similarity where you want to do it the right way. You want to approach it the right way. And so I think with that mindset in mind, I think you are going about it the right way with your clients and with what you're trying to do with each of the brands individually. So I have high hopes, and I have nothing but, kudos and encouragement for you guys both on each of your. But shout out to your man over here, because again, developing something that is something that is useful and that you guys do use as like what I like to call the bread and butter of what you guys really like can lean on and make some moolah off of is like, I think that's going to be something great once you guys have a bottling service and start really pushing the envelope on that end. On that scale will really help keep that foundational part really good. And then you can, those other arms with Scottsdale, Nashville, global, international events, those things will develop along the way as well. So I think you guys are golden. You guys are good. I expect fingers crossed. I expect you guys back in here when you guys do your first international tour of like doing different events.
We're like, Jose, we have all the things to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. We love updates like that, because it really does. We've had multiple guests come in and share their stories of what they've been doing after a couple of years. And it really does surprise me, because again, it's like, I conceptually can come up with something that I think will lead off into the future. But a lot of the times they throw me for a loop where it's like, no, we went a completely different route. And I love those stories, because it really does show it's like we were out here. And now we're here, like now we're really chugging along. And I love those stories, because again, it's like you can have hopes and dreams, but it's what you execute along the way and what you also develop too, like what your connections come in and start helping you with. Those always go, I don't know everyone. They go a long way. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So this is kind of the end of our conversation, but I do leave it to you to let everyone know where they can find you online, all of your social media handles, any events that you guys are going to be at that you want to shout out. The floor is yours. Go ahead and look right at the camera and let them know.
Well, thank you so much, Jose, for having us. Well, if you want to get in touch with us and you have a wedding, a business milestone, mastermind, grand opening, muddlefresh.com. Also, hello at Muddlefresh, and Muddle is MUDDLEFRESH. Some people put a D at the end, so I'm like, that's not how you spell it. Or if you are celebrating a bachelorette here in Scottsdale, it's azbacheloretteparty.com. Also, if you're like a vendor, you have an amazing storefront in Scottsdale or somewhere, or, like an amazing venture for bachelorette parties to go and hang out, definitely reach out to us. We love to partner up with some amazing businesses. We honestly have a lot in store. We have a few events that we're excited about. We're going to be at the Rancher Hat Bar grand opening. We're going to be doing their decor setups, and hopefully we have quite a bit of them coming up as well. So, well,
congratulations.
Thank you.
And again, good luck with the little guy too. I mean, that's a big part of it. Like, he's at a critical age. You're going to be dealing with, I say this because I had it. You deal with acne soon, where it's like, you're just like, it's all over my bed. Then you're dealing with driving. You're dealing with high school, graduation. It's like, then he's out the door. Like, he's like in college and all of that. And
it's funny because my mom always says your kids are borrowed.
Yeah.
So always like make sure you embrace and love them and just be a fly in the wall. Don't ever overexert yourself in it. Just kind of be there as a support. And I'm like, okay, now that I'm getting older, I'm like, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. And well, again, so Good luck with everything.
Thank
I wish
you
you guys nothing but the best of luck. But we do have an outro for ourselves. You can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. All social media under Finding Arizona Podcast. And last but not least, we end every conversation with the kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. We will see you next time. Bye, y'all.